What are these weird looking trains? And what are they doing at Washington Union Station? A few months ago, I made a video about track geometry trains. Here's a short summary of what was said in that video. Track geometry is kind of what it sounds like. The shape of the rails, the surface, curvature, stuff like that. Track geometry trains use a variety of tools to inspect the rails while they're moving. Federal Railroad Administration requires that all the big railroads in the US conduct manual track inspections. That means driving around in a high railer and observing the condition of the tracks. But in recent years, railroads have preferred to do less manual inspections and more automated ones. Automatic track geometry inspection is when railways use computers on a moving train to inspect tracks. The Federal Railroad Administration has their Automated Track Inspection Program, or ATIP. With a fleet of 8 vehicles, they perform inspections across the entire U.S. rail network. Most of the FRA's vehicles are operated by a company called ENSCO. They have a variety of vehicles, including boxcars, high railers, but also former passenger cars. In that video, I mostly talked about DOTX 221. This was once a sleeper car built in 1954 that ran for the Canadian National Railway. It has been repainted and converted to be an inspection car, loaded with sensors and computers. I mostly focused on this car because, frankly, it was the only car I had footage of. Well, until December 11th, 2025. I get a text from a friend. The FRA has 2 geometry cars on display at Union Station, and they're giving tours of the interior. I rush over to Union Station just to find that they were already done giving tours. Disappointing. But the cars are still there. We may not be able to see the inside, but these vehicles are so interesting that even just seeing them from the platform, they deserve their own video. So let's start with this beast. It's DOTX 220. It was built in 2007 by Colorado Railcar, being one of the last vehicles that the company built before it shut in 2008. At 85 feet or 26 meters long and 106 tons heavy, this car has room for 20 people to be seated on board. There are 16 seats in the back observation area and an additional 4 seats in a special office where the computer screens are located. On top of that, there's an ADA compliant restroom and even a small kitchen on board. Number 220 is truly a renaissance car, a jack of all trades. Track of all trades? The FRA has published a fact sheet with all of the different things that 220 measures. I've attached a link to it in the description below. You really ought to take some time and read it for yourself. It's extensive and impressive. Some highlights are the fact that its sensors can record track geometry measurements at speeds of up to 125 miles per hour. An onboard GPS system records its location up to 5 times per second, so that any irregularities can be precisely located. A camera records video of the tracks, while an onboard satellite internet system uploads all the information to the FRA's internet databases. In fact, a complete report on a line can be made available just a day after the train runs on that line. In front of DOTX 220, we find DOTX 218. Built in 2004, this vehicle is self-propelled. On the side, you'll notice that it says Gauge Restraint Measurement Vehicle. Basically, it checks the ties and fasteners, those things that hold the rails in place. Rather than just 4 axles, this car has 5, but the 5th axle can be raised and lowered. It applies pressure to the rails. If the rails move under that pressure, it means that the ties or fasteners aren't secure. The axle is split in the middle and separate from the powered axles, also that it can make precise measurements even when there are curves. It can make these measurements at up to 40 miles per hour, but when the extra axle is lifted, the train can travel faster if needed. Once again, a document with more information will be linked in the description below. These are 2 very different cars, each with an important role: to keep the passengers traveling on the tracks, the workers working on the tracks, and the communities living around the tracks safe. Together with the rest of the FRA fleet, they operate nationwide, so it's always a very special occasion when you get to see them. I wasn't expecting to make this video, but sometimes those are the best kinds of videos to make. So if you enjoyed watching today, or if you learned something new, please subscribe to Trains Are Awesome. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.